Okay, I just want to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I suppose we should
Of
start
course.
right at the beginning. How did you get introduced to drag? How did you learn about the art form?
I've always grown up around a lot of really artistic people, and they were always encouraged me to express my femininity
Hmm.
whenever I wanted to do that. So I've never been shy about, I don't know, like crossing over into
Hmm.
the other gender if that was possible, and always blurring the lines between everything. So I think I've always had that within me, and I think it was like the performative element later
Mm.
that sort of drew it out.
Mm. So what made you want to start sort of getting onto stage then? If it was obviously the experience of a blend of the gender binaries, what made you want to get onto stage and
Yeah.
perform?
Well, it was I was in a youth club
Hmm.
in Gateys in 2019, and I met Ali Barmer and Annie Ben, and we did a fundraiser show together, and
Hmm.
it was a bit rough, but it was so much fun to do at the time, and it really just made like because I've always been quite a visual person. I've always really enjoyed the visual aspect of drag, but that it was that experience that really made me uh come to love performing and just really enjoy the energy of being on stage.
Yeah, and you obviously you've got quite a heavy sort of dance style in your performances. Where does that sort of come from, and where does that style, where did that emanate?
I mean, I've never actually done any dance training or anything, so it's not
Hmm.
really, it's sort of just, I, I mostly just improvise it at the time.
Hmm.
And I think it just comes from all of my years growing up and wanting to be a pop star very, very badly, but not really knowing how to dance in the slightest.
And so obviously you started with that youth club. So when did the name get introduced? When did Myst Fortune start to happen?
Oh, well, I was Myst Fortune to start with
Oh.
at the time. So that's always been like it's been a thing for as long as I can remember. But I changed it to Myst because I kind of ended up resenting the idea of having like a strictly feminine
Hmm.
first name. And I think like because I think it to me it limited the areas that I was able to explore
Hmm.
visually. So I wanted to have something that could just go anywhere. So then Myst came out of that.
So obviously from that sort of the
Yeah.
beginning, then obviously you seem to be popping up everywhere. One of the most notable places was at Cardiff Student Union for the Sly event. So what was it like getting the call to be told that they wanted you on the stage at the first ever drag event in the Student Union?
Oh well, it actually wasn't. They didn't. I actually asked them. Like
Oh
I
wow, okay.
messaged them and I was like, "Oh, I've heard that might still be looking for people for this thing,"
Hmm.
and I was hoping that I would be able to do it because I think the student union's a really lovely venue and I really wanted to perform there.
Hmm.
And also the idea of like a student-led and organized drag show is just a really really cool thing, and I just really wanted to be involved with that.
Hmm.
So I just sort of we did a little Zoom call and I explained what I would be doing, and then they were just like they were very on board. So I ended up
Hmm.
being in it.
Did
So
it
yeah.
did it add extra pressure as we said the union didn't have drag events regularly? Did that add extra pressure for you?
Well, I didn't uh I can't say that it did because I feel like every drag show is so different to me
Hmm.
that like it doesn't matter what the last one was like. I feel like anything can be just as significant
Yeah.
in the last. Or the fact that there was none at all. And it was one of the first. I think that well that I feel like gives us such an opportunity to like um I don't know set the tone for all the
Hmm.
future events and maybe
Totally.
and be the first to introduce that to a space, I think is that's really cool
And how
and
did that
lovely.
event go? How was your performance? How did you feel about it?
I felt great. I felt really
Hmm.
good about it. It was, I think that is the biggest stage I've ever performed on, and I think it was such a cool crowd as well. Like everyone seemed really down for it,
Hmm.
and like the energy in there was amazing, and I felt really confident in the number that I did
Hmm.
because I think it is one of my better ones. I loved it. It was the best time.
And there was such a sort of diverse audience. I know I went and my family came who've never seen drag shows before, and you equally had students who had or hadn't seen drag, or people who were just there for an evening to do something fun. And so it was such an energetic audience, which obviously you want as a performer, which is fab.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Like
Mm,
everyone there was so I think it's really important, like when you're performing, to have an audience that's really like into you and feeling the energy of the place. And I
mm,
think that we were really lucky to have an audience that was so involved.
yeah. And so from shows you've done to shows that you've got coming up, so one event you've got coming up is the Rocky Horror tribute show at Eclipse. So why is the Rocky Horror Show so important to you?
Oh, to me, I've loved Rocky Horror. It was one of my earliest memories is watching that movie,
Mm,
and I think it is so like it's such a bridge between like different groups of people, and I think like it's such a that movie was such a refuge for queer people and like
mm,
and weirdos when it came out, like in the 70s when it really like that was such a difficult time. And I
mm,
think to have like those midnight screenings and like the cultural significance of that film to me is so important.
mm,
And I think it's I feel such a privilege to be able to like help to bring it to life in that way in the
mm.
clips in a small way.
And like we said about the audience, linked to what we were just talking about, the slideshow, the following of Rocky Horror is also incredibly diverse. You
Yeah.
have, people who are into drag, people who are, queer or on any spectrum of that, and then just normal, straight, cisgendered people who also dress up, get involved, sing along, dance along, and have such a great time. So it is one of those shows that again brings people together, which is fabulous. So what character specifically are you going to be bringing to life at the Eclipse show?
I will be embodying Magenta for
Mm.
the Eclipse show.
And
I
why
I
are they
really love.
why is that character important to you?
Oh, well, she was always my favorite character in the film when I was watching it growing up. I thought she was so fab. I just loved like the big hair and just the really like just the accent, the costume, the voice. Like it's just everything is so like she just really adds to the film
Mm,
in such a she brings a different level to it in that way. And I love her relationship with Riff Raff as well, which I'm really excited to
mm,
be embodying as well in this.
mm. So on top of obviously there
So
are
I'm very
songs that
excited for that.
we oh sorry. I know there's songs that obviously Eclipse have selected you to do, but you've also got a set as a part of your time on the stage. So
Mhm.
what can we expect from your performance? What does will that look like for you?
Well, I think the Myst Fortune regulars, lots of lip syncing, lots of high energy, a lot of running back and forth and back again. I think maybe there will also be some live singing as well. But I don't want to reveal
Obviously.
everything because I want something surprise.
Obviously, I'll put the link in the description so people can scroll down and click away. Um, but moving on to another show that you've got planned that is very different to what we've talked about so far. You've got a fashion show coming up. You're a part of a fundraising fashion show. So is this your sort of first experience of modeling, or is that something you've done before?
It's my first experience of modeling in like outside of my college stuff. But when
Mm,
I was studying fashion in Cardiff and Vale, I got to do runway shows twice at the end of year events, or no, three
mm,
times because I did one this year as part of my art foundation as well. So I do have runway experience, but it'll be my first outside of an educational
mm.
space, which will be really
Yeah.
fun.
Do you find it different then switching from your sort of normal performances to runway? Is there a change of mindset? Is it so different for you? How do they work together?
Well, I think to me at least, I think obviously the approach will be different for everyone, but when I'm doing more modeling and runway, it's more about working as a community and like
Yeah.
it's about like working in harmony with other people. And I think when you're performing as an individual, it's about captivating and like sort of stealing all
Mm,
the attention and being very front and center. But when you're a model, you kind of have to work as a unit, and
mm,
so that is going to be kind of a different.
mm. And obviously, I know you and the
Yeah.
team have had some sort of team building experiences to try and get that cohesion together. Um, but yes, so why is this event so important to you? Why do you think people should go? Why do you think it's being held?
Well, I think it is a very important event because obviously like it is fundraising for charity, and I
Mm,
think also just like to I think just to support like independent designers as well. I think that's really important as well.
mm,
And I think to to have to have events like that in your local area, I think is just amazing. And I think
mm,
that is to make it more accessible is just amazing as well. And I think that like to be able to go and see that, I think
mm,
is just it's a very good thing to have.
mm. It's not something that obviously you see regularly. It's not something that happens all the time. So obviously, it's
No,
exciting.
no.
Mm. And obviously, like you said, it's for
It
charity.
is, it is. I know like it's for a good cause. It's something that you don't get to see every day. I think
Mm,
that you're just gonna be like a very it's gonna be very
mm.
fun.
And obviously, I attended the last event that Tyler did, and what I thought was fantastic was again, you had a spectrum of people there in the audience, on the stage, all different walks of life represented, different sizes, different backgrounds, all which was again incredible. Seeing all those different people being showcased, and I imagine this next one will be exactly the same. So, so I look forward to that. I will be there. So I am coming to the end of my questions, but I've got a couple more. So where can people stay up to date with you and sort of what's next? What promote yourself? Tell us what you've got coming up.
Well, I as you said, I had the Eclipse Rocky Horror coming up. I will also be present at the Tyler Edgar Runway event. I am. And for now, I think that is all I've got coming up.
Hmm.
I You can stay up to date with me at Instagram at Myst_Fortune with no
Hmm.
capitals. And I'm not on anything else currently, but I'm working on TikTok accounts.
I'll put it in the description below so people can click away. And what advice do you have for new performers looking to get into either performance or sort of modeling runway? What advice do you have for people looking to get into it?
For drag, I think the two things that I would say is like, um, do not take yourself too seriously. I think it's so easy to get caught up in the like, oh, I have to immediately have this like fully formed brand and image and style and everything has to be so perfect.
Hmm.
But I think you've got to start off somewhere and you have to be prepared for not everything to stick immediately.
Hmm.
And you've got to just be ready to throw yourself at the wall and just go for it.
Hmm.
And then I think the second thing that I would say is like, um, I think you can't get too caught up in the social media aspect of things. I think you have to get really you should focus more on in-person face-to-face experiences sometimes. I think it's
Hmm.
not always going to be the most successful to like just uh to not go out and to not show yourself.
Hmm. And
So
sort
yeah,
of
that would be
for
advice.
runway and modeling and stuff like that, what advice would you have for looking to for people to get into that?
Oh, for that, would say it would definitely be networking at every opportunity. I think
Mm,
it's always important you've always got to be aware of who you're close to and who can and who you're also like look over and be like, oh, who am I being creative with and
mm,
who can assist in the vision to
mm.
get me to where I need to be and who can also participate in that vision and come together into a creative community and go forth
Yeah.
the world.
I
Yeah.
said at the beginning, but I'll say at the end as well. Thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I'll put all the links we've talked about in the description so people can scroll down and click away. But yeah, thank you so much, and I shall speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's all right. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.